Hello, so today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be doing a bit of a tutorial on Protolyst. So I'm going to walk through how I would set up a workspace after creating a new account, with a particular focus on using it for research, such as during a PhD. Let's jump in. Here we have a workspace. And when you create your account on Protolyst, you will get to give your workspace a name and also choose from a few options as to what you're using the workspace for. When your workspace opens, you'll be presented with a few pages that we've prepared to guide you through using the platform, with a bit of an example workflow spread across a few pages. What I've done is gone through and deleted all of those pages, so this workspace is completely empty. We're starting right from scratch. There's a few different things that you could build systems for during your PhD. I'm going to focus on reading papers today. So given that I know that people have hundreds, sometimes even thousands of papers, I'm going to say that we'll start off with creating a table for our papers. So to do that, we go to this plus icon at the top of the sidebar. And when you click it, you'll be given the options to set up a new page within your workspace. On Protolyst, pages come in a few different types. You've got text editor, which are great for typing straight into the page and taking notes and adding other media into the page. You've got tables, which are great for organizing data based on particular properties it might have. You've got file upload to throw any of your files into Protolyst, as well as web page. And you are prompted to copy paste a URL and it will import the content of that web page into the Protolyst page for you to work with. So let's create a table. I'm going to add a title. Oh, can't spell. Papers table. And whenever you create a new table on Protolyst, it's automatically created with three properties. You've got the name, atoms, and subpages columns. And in a table, every row that you add into your table is also a page. And so if you hover over this, you'll be given the option to open the page. So if we do that, you'll see that we're given that same interface that we added when we used the plus button to create that table originally. So we can choose from the different page types. Because this sits in a table, you can also create templates. So there is an additional option for that here. And because this page sits in a table, the properties of the table also list here. So that's what it looks like when you add a row to your tables. It's actually a page. So I'll jump back to the papers table. And you can add new rows by hitting the new button, and that gives you that kind of blank page to start from. You can also add particular page types by using the drop down next to the new button and choosing from whatever type of page you want to create. I always downloaded my papers, so I've got all the files saved on my computer, and to get them into this table, I'm just gonna navigate to them in my file store, grab them, and then just drag and drop them into this page, and they will start to upload, and each paper will populate as a row of my table. I love the way that they name papers, just a series of like words and numbers. Not super useful. So let's open up this first one. So what I'm going to do is copy paste the title of the paper into title up here. You can add emojis into your page titles by clicking this option and choosing one from there. So on Protolyst, we have built a system for you to capture what we call atoms. And atoms are the golden nuggets, insights, the highlights that you might be making if you were to use a highlighter, any of the information that's important or interesting to you that you come across in your sources. So as you're reading through, come across something interesting, you highlight it, and then this capture atom button appears. If you click this, you save that highlighted text as an atom in your workspace. And within your workspace, the atoms are an additional layer of organization. We've added this layer so that you can navigate and find the most important information rather than having to scroll through documents trying to find it again. So this bit of text has now been saved as an atom. I'm going to click outside of it and carry on. I'm going to gather a couple more atoms, for argument's sake, and say that we've got a few related to this page. There we go. Okay, so when I've got this page open, I can scroll through and see all the highlights in the page that I've made. I can also view a list of the atoms in the properties bar. So every page on Protolyst that you add has a properties bar, and you open that properties bar using this Show Properties button in the top right of the page. So if I click it, it expands, and there are 3 different tabs in this one. We've got Properties, Atoms, and Pages. Now, because this page sits in a table, that's why we have the Properties tab. These correspond to the properties that have been added to the table which this page sits in. Then we have an Atoms tab, and when you swap to this Atoms tab, you will have a list of all the atoms that you have captured from this page. If you've captured a lot of atoms, there is a search bar. You can search through them by keyword. There's also some options for how you want to sort the atoms. And then the Pages tab, this is where you will see any pages that are connected or have a direct relationship to this page. So let's stick with the atoms for now. So the Atoms tab gives us a list of all the atoms in the page. If you've added a page and for whatever reason there isn't an ability to capture the atoms, or perhaps there's no text, perhaps it's a book that you've read offline, but you still want to have it in your Protolyst system and create some atoms, you can do this by using the Add Atom button on the top left of this Atoms tab in the Properties menu. So if you click this, you can then select New Atom, and then you can add in the text manually, and that will create an atom for you. So I'll just call it that so that we can differentiate between it. So you can view all of the atoms that you capture in a particular page by navigating to that page, opening up the Properties menu, and then choosing the Atoms tab. We added this page into a table, and there was an Atoms property in that table. So let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, so we've come back to this table. Now a table is a type of page in Protolyst. So it also has its own properties bar. And this is opened up. So to close it, I just need to click that button again. So back to the tables and the atoms. Let me just expand this column. You can see that the atoms which we captured in this page are displaying in the atoms property of this table. So you're able to view all the atoms that you captured within a particular page in the table by having the atoms property, and then you can just scroll through that list of atoms. They all appear here. And so I talked about how atoms give you that added layer to be able to search through the most important information from within all of your sources within your workspace. And so next I'm going to chat through how you can start to connect your atoms to other pages in your workspace. So this list of atoms organized by paper is useful, but I'm probably going to want to access that information from a different train of thought to remembering, oh yes, there was that great point made in that specific paper for a whole library's worth of papers. So let's open up this paper. Again, I'm going to update the title. And as I go through this time, when I capture my atoms, I'm going to think about which topics this atom relates to. So I'm going to pick some from my PhD. So coactivates was one of the things that I was working on. Okay. What I can now do, because I've decided that coactivates is a topic which I want to start collecting atoms around, I'm going to add coactivates as a new page in my workspace. And I'm going to keep it in the sidebar for now. I can move it around and tidy it up later. So we've got coactivates. You'll see that the coactivates page was created and added to the sidebar here, and a tag has been added into this linking bar. And what this means is that everywhere that I add a tag, this atom is linked to that page. So the atom will display as an atom of this page where I captured it, and it will also display as an atom of the coactivates page which I just created. So in the page, I can view the atoms by using the properties bar and the atoms tab. I could also jump back up to the paper, close that properties bar, see that the atom appears here in my table. And if I jump to coactivates, And so this page, I haven't chosen a page type for it to be. So at the moment, it's what we call a typeless page, but it still behaves in terms of us being able to connect atoms and other pages to it in the same way as any other page. And any of the atoms of this page will display in this atoms box at the bottom here. So you'll see that atom, which I added the coactivate tag to, is displaying here. So I'm going to go back to that paper and carry on capturing atoms and adding some more tags so that I start to connect it around topics that are relevant for my research. And you'll see that as I've now added the coactivate page, it appears in this recently used section of the list of pages in my workspace. So I can just click it to add it straight away. And actually for this atom, I want to add another tag. And again, I'm just going to add it into the sidebar, and it's appeared up here again. And so let's take an example of perhaps this is, a methodology. So I'm going to add method as a new tag. Again, add it to the sidebar. There we go. It's been added into the sidebar list here. And perhaps, there's like a key result. I'll just grab some text arbitrarily just for the point. Nope, can't type. Key result as a new page. Cool. So I'll jump back into the papers table. See all of the atoms I've added. If I expand this a bit, you can also see the other tags that I've added to each of these atoms listed. You can add as many tags as you want to make sure that you can access your atom from anywhere you would like across your workspace. You can open up an atom at any point to remove tags or add new ones. Something else to also mention is that you can edit the text of the atom. So if like this, so if you want to tidy it up a little bit, or you want to add some further info underneath, or completely rewrite the atom, take away some of the info, you can do that and it will save and update. Okay, so let's add a few tags to this. This is just fairly arbitrary, just so that we can move on to other behavior with the atoms. So by adding the tags, we've connected the atom to different pages within our workspace. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about organizing these new pages that we have added. Because over time, as I take on different strands of my research, I'm going to end up with quite a long list of different topics. So what I'm going to do is add a table, and I'm going to call this my topics and themes table. And then what I'm going to do is move the pages in this sidebar to sit as a row of this table. To do that, you hover over the page and go into this 3 dots menu. And there's a few different options that come up. This is where you can delete a page, make a copy of it and open it up, as well as move the location. So I'm going to choose that. And then from the drop down, I'm going to start typing the name of the topics and themes table. Equally, you could scroll through until you found it and then hit move. So you'll see that the display updated because now this page sits in a table. So the properties of that table are displaying up here. If I jump back to the topics and themes table, you'll see that it's been added as a row of the table. So I'm just going to do that for the other pages. So if you have the page open, you can also access these page options through the 3-dot menu in the top right. So I've moved all of these pages into my topics and themes table. And you can see that all of the atoms that I added tags to those particular pages are now displaying in the atoms property of that table. Now the other column that's added into tables is subpages. And subpages are pages that sit underneath another page. And you can use them to help with organizing the pages in your workspace. So if I were to decide that this droplet behavior page actually probably makes more sense to me as a subtopic of coactivates. I can move it to be a subpage of the coactivates page. So if I open up that droplet behavior page, go to the page options in the top right and select move location, I can choose to rearrange it. Oh, can't spell. Coactivates. There we go. Cool. And so that page has now moved. And you can see where it now sits through this breadcrumb link at the top. So droplet behavior is underneath coactivates, which is underneath topics and themes. So if we go back to the topics and themes table, you'll see that the droplet behavior page that was previously a row in this table is now a subpage of the coactivates page. And so there's a couple ways you can think about this. It can be like this is a tag and this is a subtag, but all tags that you add on Protolyst do correspond to pages. You can also think of it a bit like in File Explorer when you have a top level folder and you can see the files and folders inside that folder, the next level down. Okay, so there's two more things I want to talk about. I'm going to jump back into the papers table and show you how you can start to organize your atoms by the tags and topics that they have been connected to. So to do that, I'm going to add another atoms property, add property, and then choose from the different property types, atoms. And then, so this will display the same atoms as this atoms property. Let me just make this a bit narrower. Expand that one. And so what you can do is actually add filters to these atoms properties. And so if I wanted to show just the key methods or key results, I can choose the key result page, and this will filter all the atoms to only display the atoms which I have tagged or connected to key results. So you can see that for each row, there's just one atom that has been tagged key result, but more than one atom has been captured in each row. And so you can do this to be able to get an overview of the information that you've captured from any of the pages in a table that corresponds to a particular topic. So I could also set this up for key results we've just done. Also set this up for method, if we tagged any atoms with method. Cool. So you can use that to build overviews of particular information of interest. Something to mention quickly here is at the top of your table, there are a few different options. If you click properties, you'll be given a list of all the properties in the table, and you can use these toggles to turn them on and off. And if there's a combination of properties that you're going to want to continually keep coming back to, you can save it as a view. So when I've got to a particular configuration of the table, which I think I'm going to want to refer back to in the future, I can actually save it as a table view so that it's easy for me to come back to it without having to set up the filters every time. So what I can do is go to this eye icon, and then I can click create a view. I'm going to do table, and I'm just going to call it new, create that view. And creating that new view has actually reverted back to displaying all of the properties of the table. So what I might do is actually rename that one by going into that three-dot menu, updating the name there. And then I'm going to move this view to the top because it's the one that has all of the properties on display. And then this table view has saved that setup I had with the kind of two filtered atom properties. So I'm going to click on the three-dot button and change that to something like paper overview. And so now if I want to get to this view, all I have to do is, open up the list of the different views that I have and navigate to the one of interest. And so in that way, I can save these different configurations and see different bits of info about my papers more easily. And then one final thing I'm going to talk about in regards to tables is using a select property to organize your papers into a multi-step reading workflow. So again, I'm going to create a new property, and then from the list of property types, I'm going to choose select. And a select property allows you to create a list of options, but each row can only be in one state. So it's useful if you're going to move something through a series of steps. So I'm going to do like review to read, read, and reread. just some arbitrary ones. So I've obviously, in theory, read these ones. This one I'm going to review if it's actually one that is worth reading. So they've got some different statuses in this workflow. And so thinking about this view again, I'm going to create a new view and call it for review. I'm going to make it a table again. Cool. And that has copied over the kind of current version of the table that I had. Now what I'm going to do is set up a filter based on the status of this select property. Let me give that a better name. Reading stage. Cool. So to do that, I go to this filters options at the top of the table, select add filter. This is auto-filled with the reading stage. And then I can use the drop downs to set up the logic so that it displays the information that I want it to. So I want it to be reading stage is equal to review, because this is my for review. And so this view will show me all of the papers that I've added into my papers table that are set to review. And so the other thing to mention quickly is sorts. Sorts allow you to sort things, ascending or descending, so like alphabetically, by the order of the reading stage. So if I jump back to, or if I remove the filter, that might be the easiest way to do it. And then jump back into that sort. I could sort by name ascending, you'll see they updated to be alphabetical. Sort by name descending, reverse alphabetical. Still got a couple of empty rows in here from earlier. You can also set up the sorts to organize around the order of the stages in your reading stage. So it does it alphabetically as well as in the order of the drop down. So if you wanted them to display in order, you can do that. You can reorganize the order by opening up the drop down and then using these 6 dots to reorganize the different options with respect to each other, and that will update in the organization of the table. And so let's very quickly touch on how you might use your atoms to start writing something. So let's add a text editor page so that we can type in it, and let's call it like the coactivates summary. So I've got this new page. I want to access my atoms. And so I'm just going to walk you through how you can import atoms from other pages in your workspace so that you'd have a list of all the atoms that you might want to use to hand in the properties menu. So this automatically opened, show and hide. So what we can do is we go to this add atoms button. And when I clicked this earlier, you might have seen there was a second option, and this is import atoms from a page. And so when you click that, you'll be prompted to scroll through the list of pages in your workspace, or you can start typing them, just like all of these linking and connecting interfaces. So what you could do is, add particular papers, if you wanted to do it that way. So if I do that, all of the atoms from that paper will now appear as atoms of this page. Alternatively, I could connect, that topic and theme, and you can see that that has brought in some of the other atoms that were connected to coactivates. And if you jump into the Pages tab, you will see that all of the pages that we imported atoms from are listing here. And so to get started writing, you can use your atoms to populate your page with a load of relevant info to then get started writing. And you can do this by using the Cite and Page button, which will import your atom into the page. There's a reference number as well as a reference link created. You can edit these, add in all of the relevant paper info, or import it from bibtext files. You can also drag and drop atoms into the page. Oops. And then you can edit and get writing whatever it is that you want to prepare. And so as I added these atoms into the page, you might have seen this new link appear. And what this is, if I open up the atom, what this is a connection has been made because this atom now appears in this coactivate summary page. And there are also some symbols that you might see next to your tags. So this is the source tag with this little kind of arrow in a circle. That is where you captured the atom from. There's also this citation symbol, and that means that the atom has been added into the page, just like we did now. And if you ever want to jump back to the original source to gain some further context, you can click the reference and it will open in split screen so that you don't lose your current page. Let me just close this properties bar because it gets a bit much having all of that info on one page. And it's taking us back to the paper and you can see the atom on the page. So you can gather some further context and kind of carry on writing. And when you're done with split screen, you can close it using this cross in the top right and get back to your writing and access that list of atoms. You can open that properties bar and you've got all the atoms there for you to browse through and review. Hopefully that was useful for you. So let me know if you liked it, let me know what worked, let me know what was missing, and let me know if there are any workflows that you would like us to explore and go through in future. We've got some videos over on the Protolyst YouTube channel, Protolyst Academy. Thanks very much. I hope to see you again soon.